Hey everybody, and now it's time. I got Benjamin back on camera and he's promised that he's going to say it this time. So, what time is it?
It's cooking with the...
Say it.
Cooking with the Colonel.
And the Cadet, yes. Welcome back. Finally said it. Applause everybody, thank you Benjamin. Alright, so what we're going to do today, I've got a couple of things going on. I'm going to have a couple of different videos, but we're having one meal. But we're going to make, with the meal tonight, we're going to have sourdough biscuits. Now I made sourdough bread before, and I made the sourdough bread bowls. This is going to be sourdough biscuits. So this recipe, I'm going to try a little different technique with the sourdough. And this amount should make about 6 good-sized biscuits, so which is about perfect for what we're going to need, right? So 5 for me and 1 for you, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, wow. All the recipe and the directions are down below. Look down that way on your way down. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up, like, and subscribe if you haven't. If you don't, we'll be glad to have you along. So after a long day of flying yesterday, actually I was only up for about an hour or so, but work up an appetite. And what goes better with an appetite like sourdough biscuits? So this is basically the same as my mother's butter biscuits. It's the same idea, same concept. The only thing different we're not doing is we're not going to use buttermilk. We're going to use sourdough starter. Okay, so the first thing I got 3/4 of a cup of just all-purpose flour. Okay, that's going to go in the bowl here. And then I've got 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Not bacon powder, baking powder.
Disappointed every time.
I know it is. And this is 1 teaspoon of just kosher salt. Okay, that's going in, all goes in. I'm gonna just take a whisk, I'm gonna kind of mix this all together. I guess if you had a sifter, you could sift it all together and sift it with the flour, okay? Just kind of mix it, the dry together first. And then I've got 1 stick, it says 8 tablespoons, but that's one stick of butter. And this is salted butter. Now I tried the old what is this thing called? It's a
cheese grater.
Yeah, it is, and it's a Parmesan cheese grater. We use that when we have like Parmesan. Now it works much better with a hard cheese. Does not work with butter, so don't do it.
I could have told you
it was
that.
A mess. Yeah, your mother said that same thing. I'm sure everybody in the audience is going, well, I could have told you that. So. Yes, that's true. Well, now I know for myself. So I'm just dropping the butter in, and then I'm gonna just kind of work it in just like we did before. And what we're looking for is, can you get that? Can you see that? Yeah. What we're looking for is to get the little small, when it's cut in. Now you can use Crisco, or some people talk about using lard. I don't know that I've ever had biscuits with lard. Have you?
I've never had biscuits with lard.
Now we just heard from your brother Nathan. He just called. They pulled into port to get provisions. Now he was telling me that they actually ran into a problem with food. They got replenished. Only it got about 1/3 of what they needed, and then some of that was bad. And so he said they were eating pasta and rice, and he said they were about having a mutiny there. So.
You gonna get scurvy or something?
Yeah, really. So they're pulling into port now to replenish and get some food. Although they're not letting them off the ship because of the coronavirus, though, which is interesting because all of those guys. Somebody's phone.
It's not mine.
Yeah. Now I'm starting to think that 3/4 of a cup. I'm already having doubts about this. Recipe. 3/4 of a cup of flour.
Stick to it.
Yeah, I mean it's like this should be like loose with like little. I mean this is like I'm having my doubts now. 3/4 of a cup, because I usually use that much butter with like 4 cups. I'm already going to Plan B here. I think I'm going to abort this recipe a little bit. Gonna start making it up off the cuff, so I know what it's supposed to look like. It's supposed to be a little more, you know, smaller little bits, not dry flour, but also not a ball, you know?
Yeah.
Hopefully we can salvage this and it's not a complete disaster. Again, warts and all, right?
Yeah.
Showing everything?
I guess so.
I guess because you just can't have, see how it's already breaking up? It's because the flour's mixing with it. So we'll keep feeding flour in and we'll see what happens here. But the thing we're gonna do is get this all mixed and we'll mix the starter in with it and then we'll set it aside and let it rise. Rise. Just like
Batman.
that Batman movie, right?
Dark Knight.
Let's just slowly feed in the flour here just to, yeah, see it, the flour gets in there and it's kind of busting that up now. So that was probably a cup and a half of flour.
Approximately.
I'm thinking probably 1 3/4 cups, I think. So maybe just a little bit more. About 1 1/2 to 1 3/4 cups of flour. You might even be able to get away with just going 2. See how this is looking kind of bigger. There's no big clumps, but it looks kind of like
Feta cheese.
yeah, or like grated Parmesan kind of looking. It's got butter in it, so you know it's good, right?
Yes.
All right, so we got that. Now I want to do is, I've got that. The next step is a cup of starter. Now, remember we talked about starter before, and some people have asked some questions and all. The only time I ever put sugar in it was just to get the yeast activated. Because once you do that, the yeast is in there and they're gonna eat whatever comes in. So if I take the top off of this, see the yellow, it looks like clear liquid on the top there. So I heard somebody call that hooch, and that's probably a good name for it. That's basically alcohol. So stick your nose down there. Is the smellometer on?
It's on.
Okay, give it a good whiff. Yeah. So, how does it smell?
I don't know. Weird. It smells weird, man. Like, I don't know.
It's got a little tinge of the alcohol smell, and what you can do is see how clear it looks. That's alcohol, and that's what kind of gives it the sourdough flavor. Now you can take a knife and just mix that back in. Okay, so when you see a lot of that, it's basically your yeast is getting stressed. That's why, like every day or every other day, and it's been a day and a half since I've fed my starter. So you can see the bubbles. The yeast is still in there and active. So what I'm going to do, I'll take the dry here and I'll make a little middle part here, and I'm going to take 1 heaping cup of starter.
A little volcano.
I'm going to get a little bit more than this, I think. So a cup.
Oh.
We'll see how this works here. And then I'm going to just use my hand. I'm going to just kind of mix this in, and I'm looking to make a dough. So again, instead of using buttermilk, we're using the starter.
So if you just use buttermilk, it'd just be normal biscuits?
Right. Now what you get with the regular biscuits my mom made is that the buttermilk, the acid in the buttermilk, because that's what makes buttermilk kind of sour a little bit, is the acid in it. A little bit of acid reacts with the baking powder, and that's what makes it rise. It's like an acid and a base coming together. It produces air, and it adds air. Now, with the sourdough, you've got see, this is it's just a little tad. I think I might need a little more starter. You've got the yeast that's feeding on the flour, the new flour, and that's what makes it kind of rise. So I'm going to use a little bit more
Flour or starter?
yeah. So you're right. I'm going to put a little more starter in here. Probably that's probably just a shade over. I'll just feed it in a little bit. I don't want to make it too wet. That's usually what I end up doing is add too much liquid, and it gets too wet, it's usually what I do, and that looks like what I just did it again. So I think I'd learn, wouldn't he?
You think?
We got a little flour on here just to dry this back up. And we'll kind of turn it out on the. Put this top back on here. Now let's just put a little bit. I took about a cup out, so I'm going to put a cup of flour back in. We'll mix that back in. A little shot of water. Mix it back in. I don't have very much there because I don't need very much, but just stir it around till it kind of mixes up. Top back on and back up on the top of the fridge. All right, so I kind of dust the counter here, so we'll turn this out. Now, one thing I am going to try. See, normally the way Mom always taught me was to just the less you touch biscuits, the better. With these, because the yeast is in it, and we're going to let it rise a little bit. I'm actually going to try to create some layers. So I'm gonna actually kind of mash it out flat, and then I'm gonna fold it over. And I'm gonna do this about 8 times.
2 to the 8th. What's 2 to the 8th?
I was wrong. You doing math now? Public math? Never do public math. People call you out on it.
Give me a second.
So this is getting, all right. So was that makes what, 3? So fold it over and then mash it back out to the size it was when you folded it over. So keep this dusted here. How's that, 4, 5? And you can see it's starting to spring back in now. It's almost kind of kneading it a little bit. So hopefully this will make it flaky. This is an experiment as well. This might end up being croutons. 6.
Sourdough croutons.
Yep.
You ever had sourdough croutons?
Yes, they are tasty. Was that 7? I'm losing count. You're supposed to help me.
You
Mr.
said never do public math.
Counting
is
not
public math.
Yeah, that's true. I think that was 8. Okay, so we'll just kind of flatten this out. Now I'm gonna put this on, what I want to do is put this on a cooking sheet. All right, so I've got my glass. Now, what is that? What did we say that was? About 3 inches across, 3 inches in diameter. I put a little flour there to kind of get this going, and then press out. Don't twist.
Why don't you twist?
Because that makes the ends tough. I had somebody tell me that. So I do read your comments and do listen, believe it or not. My wife thinks that I don't, but I do.
I know you do, because you made me say it.
All right. All right, so 4. This is going to be about 6. Might have one that's kind of goofy shaped. Kind of mash this together, make a monster biscuit. Franken biscuit.
That's yours.
This is like a. All right. Now that's probably going to be the best one, I think.
That's a donut.
We could do it like a donut, like a sourdough donut. We could do a Franken biscuit.
You do like a hot dog and like put it lengthwise right here.
Huh? Like a little.
Like a pig in the blanket kind of, but like without the pig.
No pig. So it's just the blanket.
Just the blanket. You want to make
Just
a blanket?
a sourdough blanket.
Yes.
All right. So this is like a little
that's
bread.
yours.
All right. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna cover this up now with a paper towel, and I'm gonna just kind of put it at this room temperature. We'll let it rise for about an hour or so. We'll see what it looks like. So get a good look at it. Hopefully it'll rise. We'll see, and then we'll come right back. Hey, all right, so we're back. It's been about an hour with these biscuits. Now, I've heard some people, some of the things when they talk about them, how they're their little sourdough's a little denser. But you know, as I'm sitting here after letting them rise for an hour or so, they're feeling pretty light. I mean, I could feel the air in them. They're looking pretty good, and I can tell they rose a little bit. So what we're gonna do now, I've got the oven. We're gonna heat the oven up 425 for about 25-30 minutes. Just check them. When they look done, they're done. All right, so they'll brown up nice and everything else, but it's probably gonna be about 25 minutes or so to 35 minutes at 425. And we'll check them, we'll pull them out and see how they turned out. So I'm looking forward to tasting them here. So is this yours?
That's yours. We already decided.
Is this gonna be the hot dog bun here, or what?
The blanket. The blanket.
Okay. All right, so we'll pop them in, we'll be right back. All right, so they have been in for about 30 minutes. Actually 25 minutes, and that was plenty enough. So here's our sourdough biscuits right here. Nice and golden brown. Well, they smell good. Can you smell them?
Ooh.
Yeah, we got Bella here helping out. So this is how they turned out. Ooh, they turned out real nice. I'm gonna get a little plate, cut one open, and try it out and see here. Get the butter knife. Got some, actually I got a butter knife over there. I got some butter all ready to go. Some other things, so I'm gonna try this out here. Got some mashed taters tonight. So these are sourdough biscuits. Still warm. So they fluffed up pretty good inside. They're not dense. I was a little afraid they might be with it folding over, but that looked like it worked out pretty good. So that's the sourdough biscuit. So no buttermilk at all with those. It's just like Mom's butter biscuits, except no buttermilk. So it's a sourdough starter. And again, you know, the sourdough adds a nice flavor to it and everything else. So let's try this and see. That's buttery. The whole dough, everything. That's very tasty. Sourdough biscuits. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe. Appreciate everything. Appreciate y'all watching, keeping watching, still watching the videos here. And Bella, you want to say bye?
Bye.
Bye. We'll see you next time. All right. This is the Colonel saying over and out.